Good afternoon and welcome to Election Judge Training for Lake County, Illinois. Today, our goal is to cover basic training, usually for newer election judges or anyone who needs a refresher. We will cover basic election terminology and procedures, acquaint you with resources that will be available to you at the voting site, and cover basics of processing a voter. No one person is expected to remember everything after the basic training class. You will be working with other qualified judges and have many other sources available to you online or at the polling location. Cover a little bit about the basic of election cycles here in Lake County. We have 2 elections every year. Even year elections, we have our primary, which is held on the 3rd Tuesday in March to nominate candidates and also to elect precinct committee persons. Our general election is held the 1st Tuesday after the 1st Monday in November to elect candidates. And this is for federal, state, legislative, judicial, county, and North Shore Water Reclamation District offices. Our odd year elections, we have a small primary in a localized area of Lake County, which is the last Tuesday in February to nominate candidates. And our consolidated election is the 1st Tuesday in April to elect candidates. This is for more of your localized offices, such as municipal, township, park, library, school, college, and other special districts. Our 2 elections for 2020, we had the March primary on March 17th and the general election coming up on November 3rd. Primary elections are held where the voter must state their party preference before receiving a ballot. Voters can change their party preference from primary to primary. Their party preference is not listed or kept on their voter registration record. And primaries may include nonpartisan ballots, which are only public questions available in a voter's area. If they do not wish to declare a party, they can still vote on the public question. Races on this November's ballot include federal office, such as president and vice president, senator, and representative in Congress for specific districts, state offices for senator in District 31, representatives in specific districts, North Shore Water Reclamation District trustees, circuit clerk, coroner, recorder, state's attorney, certain county board member districts, and the 19th Circuit Court judgeship in the 3rd Sub-Circuit. Some of the COVID-19 safety protocols based on information provided by the Center for Disease Control, or CDC, as well as state and local guidelines, we will provide the following for our election judges: face masks and shields, hand sanitizer, sanitizing wipes, gloves, sneeze guards to be placed in front of the e-poll books separating the judges from the voters, and sneeze guards at the ballot issue tables, serving the same purpose to put between the election judges and the voters. All election judges will be required to wear a face covering while at the polling site. We ask the judges to remain vigilant and remind voters that social distancing protocols should be followed. And we furthermore recommend that voters bring and use their own pen to mark their ballot. Governor Pritzker signed a public act back in June. Some of the highlights of this public act are only for the November election. Applications to vote by mail were sent out recently to people who had voted in the last few elections or registered after the March primary. There are civic groups also sending out applications. If the applications we were required to send under the Public Act are not returned, the Secretary of State will send reminders in mid-September and mid-October. Voters can still vote early or on election day. We are finalizing details for postage-free drop boxes for voters to return their vote by mail ballots. We will have 4 permanent boxes staged throughout the county. Once we finalize the locations, we will publish details, and we will be sending an insert with every vote by mail ballot so voters will know where these drop locations are. We will also have drop boxes at all of our early voting locations during early voting hours. We were also adding a universal election day voting site to serve all voters. And again, once that information is available, we will make sure it is published. Student election judges can now serve if they are 16 years old. They were required in previous election cycles to be 17, but now we can have them serve as long as they are 16. The election in November will be considered a holiday for all governmental offices and schools. A little bit about voters. Requirements for voters: must be of 18 years of age or older by the general election. They can vote at 17 years of age in the primary as long as they are 18 by the day of the general or consolidated election. Must be a U.S. citizen, a Lake County resident for at least 30 days prior to election day. Must be registered with the Lake County Clerk's office using their correct name and address. And voters can register through and including election day. Once voters are registered, they will receive a voter information card from our office. It shows any election day voting site and gives you information about the voters' districts. It cannot be used as identification, and voters do not need to bring it with them on election day. A little bit about election judges. Who are they and what are they responsible for? Election judges are responsible for the proper and legal processing of voters. They work as a team in the voting site and have equal authority. Even though there are some judges who will have additional responsibilities, all judges at the polling location do have equal authority and work together as a team. We will schedule judges to represent both of the two major political parties to keep things fair. And for judges to keep their certification status, you will be required to attend a class every 2 years. Election day requirements: arrive no later than 5:15 at your assigned polling location. Doors will open at exactly 6 a.m. for voting. You are required to remain at the voting site all day. Polls close at 7 p.m. Any voters still in line at 7 p.m. will be allowed to vote. You must process anybody who is in line by 7 p.m. And all judges stay until all voters are processed and closing tasks are completed. Before election day, we also have nursing home judges who visit our area nursing homes so the residents there are allowed to vote. We also have early voting judges who work at our early voting sites for the 2 weeks leading up to election day. Election day, in your polling location, you will see check-in judges, ballot issue judges, voter service judges, and ballot box judges. And we'll cover a little of each of their responsibilities. Today's training, we're going to focus mainly on check-in and ballot issue judges, but you should be familiar with the other judges in the polling location. Check-in judges, you're not responsible to help with setting up the polling place election evening. Election day, you will use a poll book to check and verify voters as they come into the polling location. You will print the voter application. The voter will verify the information on their application and sign it and give it back to you. You will be able to check the voter's signature against what we have on file here at the office because the voter's signature will display in the poll book. You will also be able to process voters who have spoiled their ballot and direct the voters to the ballot issue table where they will receive their ballot. Ballot issue judges, you are also not responsible to help with setup on election eve. Election day, you will select, initial, and issue the correct ballot to the voter. You will compare the information from the voter's application, which they received at the check-in table, against the information on their ballot. Make sure that the voter's precinct, ballot style match. Then you will initial the ballot and direct the voter to an available booth. The voter service judge is responsible for setup on election eve. Election day, they will process voters with special circumstances, voters who need to register or update their registration, or maybe even change their name. They can also process voters who have spoiled their ballot. They will issue any provisional ballots, and they can assist voters needing to use our ADA equipment. ADA is the Americans with Disabilities Act, and we do have equipment that is compliant and meets all ADA equipment needs. The ballot box judge is responsible before Election Day for picking up the voting supplies that will be needed at the polling location. They will confirm access with the voting site for setup and for election morning. And they will call and verify judges assigned at their polling location. Election Eve, they will set up the voting site along with help from the site manager and voter service judge. On Election Day, they will bring the ballots before the polls open, verify that voted ballots are initialed. During the day, when ballots are issued by ballot issue judges, they initial the top right corner of the ballot. Ballot box judges just verify that the ballots are initialed before the voter places their ballot into the tabulating machine. At the end of the night, ballot box judges are also responsible for transporting certain election materials to the transfer site after polls close. You will have a site manager at your site. Sometimes we have roving site managers responsible for more than one location, so they may come and go throughout the day. If site managers are not available, or while they are checking on other locations, should they have multiple locations, the voter service judge is usually responsible for handling any tasks normally handled by the site manager. Site managers are not election judges. They are a liaison between the polling location and the clerk's office. Election Eve, they may help with setup. Election Day, they ensure election judges are following correct and consistent procedures in the polling location. They can assist with voter registrations or any affidavits that may need to be filled out. And they resolve voter concerns or poll watcher concerns. Again, they are not election judges, so they cannot sign paperwork, but they can certainly assist by helping to fill out paperwork, have judges verify their paperwork, and then an election judge would sign or initial the paperwork as needed. Here's the pay schedule. Check-in judges and ballot issue judges, once you complete training in your assessment, you will receive a trained status, allowing us to pay you $140 on election day. Ballot box judges, due to additional responsibilities, if that is your assignment, you will receive $180. Voter service judges who are certified and assigned as voter service judges would receive $170. If you serve out of township, you would receive an additional $10. Nursing home judges receive $30. And early voting judges are paid currently $10 an hour. In preparing for Election Day, if you're going to serve as an election judge, you want to make sure that you vote before Election Day. There is no guarantee that you will be assigned to your home polling location, and you will not be allowed to leave your assigned polling location to go to your home polling location. Once you're at the polling place working on Election Day, you're not allowed to leave until polls close at 7 p.m. and everything is packed up and finished for the evening. So again, make sure you vote before Election Day. Some of the methods available to you, you can vote by mail. Online vote by mail applications are available at lakevoterpower.info, or you can call our office and we can mail you an application. We also have a link on our website at lakevoterpower.info, where you can either print the application and mail it back to us, or you can submit your request electronically. The first day to mail ballots this election cycle is September 24th. The last day that we may receive an application and mail a ballot is October 29th. Remember, if you receive a ballot by mail, you must have your voted ballot postmarked no later than Election Day, November 3rd. Early voting begins October 19th and runs through November 2nd. You can visit any early voting location. They are universal to all voters in Lake County. They will have pre-printed ballots if that is your normal home early voting location, or if you are voting at a different early voting location, they will have express vote ballots, which are more of a print on demand type of ballot style. We will offer weekday, evening, and weekend hours. You check our website for times and locations. Now, an election webpage at lakecountyclerk.info provides all of our election information. You can find a candidate list, any referenda for the current election cycle. You can preview what's on your ballot. We'll have our voter information guide, voter registration information, and you can find the various options for voting, such as dates, times, locations. You want to make sure to look through your election judge manual and read through it to refresh anything, or refer to it again before election day. It goes into much more specific detail on procedures that you'll be following on election day. It also has photos and examples. Review your checklist. We do have checklists for each assigned position in the voting location. So you just want to review the checklist to be familiar with what will be expected before the polls open, while the polls are open and you're processing voters, and the closing procedures at the end of the night. Some basics while serving as an election judge. You want to make sure that you do arrive on time. Dress in layers to accommodate varying temperatures. We're never sure at the polling location how warm or how chilly it may get in a specific building. So you just want to dress in layers in case the temperature does fluctuate throughout the day. Bring any snacks, medication, or anything else that you may need for personal use while at the polling location. We ask that you don't make personal calls, texts, or post to social media while in the polling location. If you do need to take or make a phone call or text, we ask that you step out of the polling room, finish your call or text, and then come back into the polling room. We ask that you not encourage or solicit gifts or food from candidates or parties. In the past, we have had election judges who have called food vendors up the street from where their polling location was and said that since they were serving as election judges, they would like them to bring them free food. Encouraging or soliciting gifts or food is not encouraged. That is something that we can't do. However, if a candidate does come into the polling location and offers to drop off some kind of pastries or food throughout the day, thanking you for serving as election judges, that is allowed, right? We just can't solicit from anyone. While in the polling location, you want to make sure that you don't engage in any kind of political discussions that can be misconstrued as electioneering. And also, you don't want to wear or display anything that shows anything about the current election, can be associated with a specific party, candidate, or public question on the ballot. And again, you're not allowed to leave the voting site until the polls are closed and end of evening procedures are completed. Then election judges all leave at the same time. A few more suggestions before election day. You want to plan a test drive past your assigned voting location. 5:15 comes awful early in the morning and it's still dark out. So if you're not sure where you're going, it's really easy to drive past, your intended location. So just take a test drive to make sure you know where you're going. Ballot box judge for your assigned location will call to confirm that you're still working the election, and they will discuss how meals will be done at the location that day. Sometimes judges bring their own lunch, sometimes they'll have a potluck, everybody will bring a dish, sometimes maybe everyone will pitch in a couple dollars for something they're going to order throughout the day, but just make sure you discuss it with the ballot box judge when they call. Our online reference library is electionjudge.info. Here you will be able to find your manuals, checklists, and any PowerPoint presentations. You can review any of these materials again before election day. Right now we'll cover a little bit about ballot content. District boundaries. Each unit of government establishes district boundaries We have congressional, Senate, municipal, township, precinct, and then library, school, park districts, and so on. These boundaries may cut across precincts to create what are called splits. An example of this, Illinois is divided first into counties. Lake County has 18 townships. Townships are divided into precincts, or what we like to call neighborhoods, grouped together and drawn on the map in order to assign voters to a common site for voting. All residential addresses and voters are assigned to a specific precinct. In Lake County, we currently serve 415 precincts. Each voter's ballot, according to address, voters are allowed to vote for only races for their taxing governmental units, right, that provide services specific to the voter's address. Neighbors might not have the same ballot because of boundaries. You may live on one side of the street and belong to a specific school district, whereas maybe the boundary line goes right down the middle of the street. So your neighbor across the street may belong to a different school district. Judges must ensure that precinct and ballot style numbers on the voter's application match those on the ballot being issued. The voter's application is issued with the precinct and ballot style according to the specific address they live at. Here's an example of how districts may split. In this example, you can see where we have 3 high school districts all right next to each other. Precinct 333 happens to split over 2 of the high school districts, Warren Township and Zion Benton. This will cause the precinct to have 2 ballot styles. Precinct 333, ballot style 1 for Warren Township High School. Precinct 333, ballot style 2 for Zion Benton Township High School. That way, a voter who has an address belonging to Zion Benton Township High School will be allowed to vote for anything pertaining to Zion Benton High School, but not Warren Township High School, and vice versa. Here's an example of what the headings look like during a primary election. Up on the top, you can see where the headings are different colors for different parties in a primary. However, in the general election, we will not have the different backgrounds because it is not a primary election. All of our ballots will have the white background with the black print, and it will still show the voters, township, precinct, and ballot style. A little bit about electioneering. First off, what is it? Electioneering is working for or against a party, candidate, or public question. This includes signs, wearing buttons, campaign shirts, handing out campaign literature, or talking up a candidate or public question. Site managers of roving assistant state's attorney staff can assist with any complaints dealing with electioneering. Electioneering is prohibited at all polling locations within 100 feet of the entrance to the room or interior door where voting occurs. Ballot box judges will mark borders with orange cones, such as the one you see in the photo. Electioneering is also prohibited within the voting room on election day. Exceptions to electioneering: if the 100 feet falls inside a school building, the electioneering zone is extended to the building's entrance. We're not going to have anyone electioneering in school hallways. So that orange cone and electioneering sign is moved to the front door of the building. Houses of worship in Lake County and private schools in Lake County can ban all electioneering on their property. Ballot box judges are advised of any exceptions. Telephone etiquette in the polling place. Voters are allowed to use their phone for discreet texting or smart searches if they're trying to look up information about a candidate or such. Judges and staff may contact the Lake County Clerk's office for election-related questions, or of course, anyone can use their cell phone to call for emergency medical assistance should it be needed. What is not allowed, voters and poll watchers must refrain from initiating or accepting calls in the voting site. If you see someone making or receiving phone calls while in the voting location, just ask them politely to either finish their call outside or to end their call and maybe return to their call later once they're out of the polling location. The voting site. Some of the equipment you will see election day are our e-poll books, which are electronic poll books, which verify voters' identity and print on-demand voter applications. These are used by our check-in judges and voter service judges. Our express vote equipment is ADA compliant ballot marking equipment that allows disabled voters to mark a ballot unassisted and in private. This is available at the voter services table only. It is touchscreen equipment and also has a pad that is on the side of the express vote machine that voters can use should they need to use Braille, sip and puff. They can also use headphones with the equipment. Again, this is all available at the voter services table. The ballot bin, where voters deposit their marked ballot. Who can be in the voting site? On election day, you will have the voters who are coming in to be processed and of course cast their ballots. And they can also bring their children or anyone who they have with them who may be providing them assistance. Election judges, site managers, county clerk staff and the representatives, state's attorney or attorney general staff, poll watchers who must have credentials, which we'll cover shortly, and press who must also have credentials, cannot be electioneering or disrupt the voting process. Photos, they must have the permission of voters if they're going to use any voters in their photos for publication. Poll watchers. Poll watchers are persons assigned or appointed by entities to observe the conduct of an election on behalf of a candidate, a political party, organization, or the proponents or opponents of a measure on the current ballot. Poll watchers must possess state or county issued credentials. They will surrender these credentials to the site manager or voter service judge who is acting as the site manager that day. And then once they relinquish their credentials, they can sign in and out while they come and go, during election day or early voting. They can observe the voting process, and they must be allowed to hear the judge announce the voter's name and address or party preference in a primary. Poll watchers' rights and limitations. They are allowed to observe the voter's signature comparison. This would be by observing from behind the check-in table. They can challenge voters' residency or signatures, and they can request clarification of procedures. Poll watchers are not allowed to be a part of any ruling process created by challenges. The ruling process for any challenge at the polling location on election day is determined by the judges of election. Poll watchers are not allowed to touch any of the voting materials. They are not allowed to campaign for any candidate or public question that's considered electioneering, and they cannot assist voters. All right, let's get started with how to process a routine voter. First, you're going to arrive at the polling place before 5:15. Everything has been set up the night before, but you do want to ensure that we can finish some procedures that need to be done that morning before the polls open. During setup the night before, the ballot box judge and voter service judges, along with the site manager, have set up the ballot counters, voting booths, common area signs, tables and chairs for the other election judges, and the e-poll books. Check-in table setup to be completed on election morning. Check-in table supplies and voter service supplies arrive in our black rolling case. You will also find a black binder in the case, which contains some administrative paperwork that will be used throughout the day. You will have a check-in table envelope, surrendered vote by mail envelopes, voter receipts, and a misprinted application envelope among your supplies. You're going to follow your checklist, which is located in the black binder. Follow the steps for before the polls open section and verify that all of these tasks have been completed before polls open at 6 a.m. The first thing you would want to do is log into the e-poll book. There's still voting taking place, early voting sites, up through the evening before the election. So once you turn on and log into the poll books, it will download and update the poll books with any current information. Again, you have to log into the poll book, not just turn it on. Your login with your password and username is also located in your black binder. Ballot box judge will have run a zeros totals report. Will show that no ballots have been cast on that ballot bin. Together, you will check the zero tape and ballot bin showing that no votes have been cast. You will then sign the report and leave it with that ballot bin. You don't want to cut or remove the tape. It will be kept on the bin until the totals are run at the end of the night for continuity. You will finish table setup. You will work as a team with the other check-in judges. We have a flag on a chrome stand that will have a check-in here sign displayed, so voters know where to come to check in first. You also have a do you need a receipt sign. Some voters who come in, maybe they're coming from work or school, and they need a receipt to show their employer or teacher. If they need a receipt, just fill one out for the voter and give it to them. Place election judge recruitment cards in case other people coming through wish information about becoming an election judge. You can give them an election judge recruitment card to fill out. You'll also have an envelope within which to return those to the county clerk's office at the end of the night. You will also have a box of pens that the voters can use to sign their applications. But again, this election, we are encouraging voters to bring their own pen. If they do not have one, though, you will have them on hand to supply to the voter. Check-in table, here's an example of what the table should sort of look like when you're done setting up. You'll see your poll books, any paperwork that you may need to use, the ask me for a receipt sign, and things of this nature. Once you're done with your setup, if other judges are still setting up or completing tasks, help them finish completing tasks before the polls open at 6 a.m. Ballot issue table setup. Ballot issue judges, your supplies will arrive in a red rolling case. You will have a red binder containing any administrative paperwork that you may need to use during the day. You will have accordion files, one for each precinct. These will be used to file voter applications once you issue their ballot. You will also have a ballot issue table envelope, ballot divider envelopes, one for each precinct, ballot marking pens, and ballot privacy sleeves among your materials. You will also receive ballot transfer cases. There may be one per precinct, depending on how many ballots were pre-printed for that precinct, or you may have multiple boxes. The ballot box judge brings these on election morning. There are individual precinct white ballot transfer cases which contain precinct-specific ballots. Once you open the ballot transfer case, in the lid, you will see a plastic sleeve which will have an orange inventory sheet. Checklists are included on top of the ballots in the box. Specimen ballots will be found underneath your checklist. You want to follow what is on the ballot issue checklist, ensuring that everything in the before the polls open section is completed before polls open at 6 o'clock. These are delivered in the red binder and in the ballot transfer case. Then you're going to inventory your ballots. You're going to take that orange sheet that was in the lid of the ballot transfer case, and you're going to total quantities from ballot labels found on the outside of the ballot packets. They're color-coded by party in a primary, black and white in a general or consolidated election. You're going to check off totals from your inventory sheet, comparing them to the labels on the ballot packets themselves. You're going to sign the inventory sheet and then give it to the site manager, who will place it in their green binder. You will work in teams of 2. One election judge will read from the specimen ballot. The second election judge will confirm the official ballot content matches the specimen ballot. When finished, place the specimen ballots in the ballot issue envelope. Ballot dividers. In the ballot divider envelope, which is delivered in the red rolling case, you will have an envelope for each precinct, divider for each ballot style, and party dividers in a primary. You will set up your ballot file. You'll place the bottom of the ballot transfer case in the cover and place it on the table. The precinct sign or sticker, such as the one in the picture for precinct 333, should be visible for voters to know which precinct they're going to. Position the precinct-specific dividers in the appropriate precinct box and stand the ballot packets for that precinct behind each divider. Statement of ballots form. You will also find these in the red binder, and there is one for each precinct. These are precinct specific and will be kept with the ballot transfer case and ballots for the required precinct. After you finish setting up your ballot file, you will open one ballot packet per style. Open the top of the shrink wrap so ballots remain in the plastic sleeve. One packet per party in a primary. You will count the ballots. Confirm that the number matches what is on the label on the front of that packet of ballots. If you count different, if the label says 25 and you count 24, count it a second time. If the number is still different, change the number on the label for that packet. Just cross out the 25 and write 24 next to it. You will then remove the label from the plastic wrap. You will place the label on the back of your statement of ballots. These will be used to complete inventory at the end of the night. Special ballot packets for less than 10 voters or federal ballots do not need to be opened until you have a voter come up who needs that specific type of ballot. You're going to place your statement of ballots form and a manila envelope that you receive for spoiled ballots in the back of your ballot file. These keep them precinct specific and they don't get mixed up on your table during the day. You will also have an accordion file for each precinct. Tabs are marked by time of day, split up by hour. This is where you will file the voter's signed application. On the bottom of their application received at the check-in table, it will print out the time that they checked in. You will use this time to file your application. You want to complete your table setup for the ballot issue table. Again, you will also have a chrome stand, a sign that says ballot issue table, and a flag. You place these on the table along with ballot marking pens, privacy sleeves, demonstration ballot pads, and colored pens used for your precinct to initial ballots. Colored pens for initialing ballots. Each precinct receives a unique colored pen for initialing ballots. So if you have 3 precincts, you may receive precinct 333 with a green pen, 334 with a red pen, 335 with a blue pen. These help to sort ballots by precinct at the end of the night. So take out one of your colored pens to initial your ballots. We recommend that you put your other colored pens in the back of your ballot transfer case with your spoiled ballot envelope. That way the colored pens don't get mixed up during the day between precincts. Because again, at the end of the night, you will use the colored ink to help sort ballots by precinct. Ballot issue table, here is an example of what your table may look like once you complete setup. For this election cycle, we will have the sneeze guards. Those are not shown in the picture. All right, once everybody completes setup, your site manager or voter service judge, if they're serving also as the site manager, will administer the election judge oath and have everyone sign the form. They will then give you a time card to complete. Make sure you complete and sign your time card to ensure you get paid for working election day. You will also have a name tag and lanyard to wear throughout the day. Polls open at 6 a.m. At 6 a.m., your site manager or voter service judge, maybe even your ballot box judge, will announce audibly that polls are open. So let's process a routine voter. When routine voters arrive at the polling location, the first stop they're going to make is the check-in table. Check-in judges, now you will follow your checklist for use while polls are open section and verify that each task is completed. The voter will come up. You want to greet them with a friendly smile. Remember, we are providing a customer service. You will ask the voter their name. You will enter a few letters into the poll book. Our poll books do work with smart search technology, so you don't need all of the voter's information. Just a couple letters for the last name, a couple letters for the first name, and select search. Once the voter's information comes up in front of you, you want to ask the voter their address. The voter will state their address. Do not prompt the voter or ask the voter, do you still live at 123 Main Street? But just ask the voter, what is your address? Read the e-poll book prompts and follow the screen instructions. Voter information will first show up in a bar across the screen, such as the one in this example, right? Right now, we've looked up Mark Ballot, so we would select that voter when he shows up on the initial lookup screen. In a primary, you would ask the voter their party. Poll watchers may be present, so remember or be mindful that they can hear the information. The e-poll book will print the voter's application. You will give the voter their application. They will verify the information at the top, which contains their township, precinct, ballot style, party, and a primary. It'll also have their name and address and birthday. Once the voter verifies their information, they will sign the application. Once the voter signs their application, they will return it to you. You will verify their signature, comparing it to what we have on the poll book screen, along with another judge. Here is an example of the voter's application where they have signed it, and their signature, how it appears on the poll book screen. You will select signature matches, and then initial the application. The most important step during the check-in process for a voter is to record the final check-in. So once you verify everything with the voter, you will record check-in. This is the only way we have of knowing the voter did show up to vote that day and they were issued a ballot. If you do not hit record check-in at the end of checking in each voter, your numbers will be off at the end of the night. Your numbers will be less on the poll book than they would be for ballots issued. So it is very important to complete this step and record check-in after each voter. You'll have a final verification screen. You will give the voter their application and direct them to the ballot issue table, and then you will be on to the next voter. Again, if a voter requires a receipt, you can always fill out one of the receipts in the pad of receipts you received in your black rolling case. Ballot issue table, responsibilities while polls are open. You're going to follow the checklist in the use while polls are open section and verify that all of these tasks have been completed. The voter will arrive at the ballot issue table, presenting you with the application they just received. You want to circle the ballot style on the application. It helps draw attention to the style number that you're looking for to issue to the voter and ensures that the voter is issued the correct ballot. Select the correct ballot from the precinct box. Verify that the information on top of the application matches the ballot. You want to match precinct, ballot style, and party during a primary. You will initial the ballot with a colored pen for your specific precinct. You will have a second judge verify the information. They will ensure that the ballot and application numbers also match and confirm that the ballot is initialed. The second judge can then empower the voter. They will verbally confirm precinct, style, and party in a primary, point out that there may be items on both sides of the ballot, and show the voter how to place the ballot in a privacy sleeve when finished voting, so the judge's initials are visible for the ballot box judge to see. You will issue the voter their initial ballot, a ballot marking pen, and a privacy sleeve should the voter require a privacy sleeve, and then direct the voter to an available booth. Ballots. While we initial the ballots, you want to ensure that you do not pre-initial ballots. If ballots are pre-initialed and not used, they become spoiled ballots. Judges cannot add initials after the voter has marked their ballot. That is also considered a spoiled ballot, and the voter will need to be issued a new ballot. Poll watchers may be present in the ballot issue area, so any information they're requiring, please make sure you announce it loud enough for them to hear. You're going to take the voter's application and again, file it in that accordion file according to time. Special circumstances that may occur on election day. We have election day registration. Voters can register to vote or update any of their registration information on election day, and this will be handled by the voter services judge. Some other special voter circumstances. Maybe a voter needs assistance. They may not read or write the English or Spanish language, may have a broken arm or disability of some form which prevents them from reading or marking the ballot on their own. So voters can have a family member or someone with them who can assist them, or two judges of election, one from the Democratic Party and one from the Republican Party. There is an affidavit that will have to be filled out, which we'll cover more of in just a few moments. Inactive voters. Inactive voters are voters who we were notified had moved. We may have tried to send them mail and it was returned by the post office, or it may have been discovered during audits that we do with our local post office throughout the year. Right? Maybe the voter has not moved, but we were notified that they had. A voter is challenged, maybe their signature no longer matches their record, or their residency has been questioned by a poll watcher or election judge. Voter may have spoiled their ballot. The voter may have requested a ballot by mail, but never received it. Special voter circumstances that may require an affidavit. An affidavit is a written statement confirmed by oath or affirmation for use as evidence in court. It is our legal proof that correct procedure was followed. Most special circumstances can be handled at the check-in table. Answer questions on the e-poll book screen. The logic is built right in. If an affidavit is required, the application and affidavit will print at the same time. Make sure to complete any required information and have the voter sign the application and affidavit portion. Here is an example of the application and affidavit printed together. On the top portion, you will find the voter's application, their signature, and the election judge initials verifying the voter's signature. The bottom portion will be the voter affidavit, the voter's second signature, the judge's signature, and in this instance, the person was inactive, so they had to show 2 forms of ID with their current address. At the bottom, you would just list the 2 forms of ID that the voter showed you. You would put their driver's license, bank statement, but we do not need account numbers or anything of this nature, just the form of identification that they showed you. Here's an example of the pre-printed pads of assisted voter affidavits at the polling location. Check-in judges, ballot issue judges, and voter service judges are all provided with pads of assisted affidavits. The reason everyone has them in the polling location is sometimes a voter will come and check in and they will not state, or we will not know, that they required assistance until maybe they get to the ballot issue table or are sent to the voter service judge for special processing. The pre-printed pads, as I said, can be used by the voter and a family member or someone they brought with them to assist them, or they can be used with 2 judges of election, one from the Democratic Party, one from the Republican Party. The voter and whoever is assisting the voter will all be required to read and sign the assisted voter affidavit. Assisted voters must qualify for assistance by not being able to either read or write the English or Spanish language, or have a physical disability preventing them from marking a ballot. The voter can choose their assistant. It can be a family member or election judge. Assistants must complete the oath, and they must read and mark the ballot as directed by the voter. You can also offer the use of our Express Vote ADA equipment. If the voter chooses to use the ADA equipment in the polling location, they do not need to fill out an affidavit. They will be voting on their own. The assisted affidavit is only if the voter is being assisted by another person. The assisted voter affidavit is a separate printed paper form. It is the only printed affidavit at the polling location. The other affidavits will print with their application from the poll book. They are available in both English and Spanish. They must be completed manually on a half-sheet form. And they are only used if the voter qualifies and is asking for help. Again, the affidavit is not needed if the voter uses the ADA equipment. If they choose to use the ADA equipment, send them to the voter service judge for assistance. Special circumstances where a voter has spoiled their ballot. The voter may have changed their mind once they've already marked a candidate on their ballot. They may have somehow ripped or torn their ballot. Maybe the ballot counter cannot read their marked ballot. Right? But before a ballot is cast, ballot box judges, maybe they see that the ballot was not initialed. All of these are reasons for a spoiled ballot. The voter can return to the check-in judge or to the poll book where they were initially checked in the polling location. The election judge will give the voter a white spoiled ballot security envelope. The voter will fold their ballot, insert it into the envelope, and the voter will seal the ballot. This is very important because if the voter comes over with a spoiled ballot, we don't ever want to take that ballot from the voter and see how they voted. So we will give them the envelope and let the voter seal their own envelope in that security envelope. The election judge will complete the front of the envelope, providing the precinct and ballot style. Once you start to process the voter on the poll book, you will then be able to get the precinct and ballot style from the poll book, or you can ask the voter to fill out the front of the envelope before they seal their ballot in it, as their information is also available on the front of their ballot. You will then look up the voter again and see that they've already been checked in at the polling location. You will still select that voter. You will again verify their address and information, and then they will give you the option to select spoil, to spoil the voter's ballot. The code to spoil the voter's ballot will be the voter's year of birth, and then you will complete checking them in and processing them again as a routine voter. When the voter's application prints, it will now say spoiled ballot at the bottom. If the e-poll book has not caught up, depending on how many voters you have that day, maybe the information was not transmitted to the server and received back to the poll books yet. So if it does not show spoiled ballot on the bottom of the application, you can just manually write spoiled ballot at the bottom of the voter's application, and then send a little chat message to the county with the voter's name. All you have to do is state voter's name, spoiled ballot, and then they will be able to look for duplicates. The voter will again verify their information on the application and sign their application, verify that the signature matches and initial the application again, and then record check-in. Again, it is very important that you record check-in on this final screen. The final instructional screen will have you give the application for ballot back to the voter. The voter should have their application for ballot and their spoiled ballot in that security envelope. They will take both of these to the ballot issue table. Once at the ballot issue table, the ballot issue judge will again get the application from the voter. There is no need to go back and match it up with the voter's initial application. You will just file this application by time like you would any other application. You will then take the spoiled ballot in the spoiled security envelope and place it in the manila envelope for spoiled ballots in the back of your ballot file box. You will again circle the ballot style on the voter's application, issue their new ballot, having a second judge verify the information and that the ballot is initialed, and continue with the normal process. If a voter has requested a ballot by mail, the e-poll book screen will show an envelope icon next to the voter's name when you search for them on the poll book. Again, do not stop at this initial lookup screen. You want to select the voter no matter what their circumstances may be. Follow the prompts on the poll book and it will tell you what is going on with that voter. So this voter requested a ballot by mail. You can see the envelope icon next to their name, but you will select the voter. Can the voter surrender their ballot? Yes, we have logic and procedures built into the poll book. Just carefully follow the on-screen prompts and it will walk you through the given situation for the voter and their ballot by mail. The voter will give you their ballot they received in the mail, and you will place it in a manila surrendered vote by mail envelope and seal it. There is a form on the front of the envelope that must be completed, and then you will have the voter sign. You will place this surrendered vote by mail envelope into a larger collection envelope to be returned with materials to the county clerk's office. You continue the process on the poll book following the prompts to finish checking in the voter. If the voter cannot surrender their ballot, logic is also built into the e-poll book. I said if you follow the prompts on the poll book, it will cover any of the scenarios regarding a vote by mail ballot. If they did not bring it with them, you want to send them to the voter services table. If they never received the ballot, there is an affidavit that they can sign to be issued a ballot from the polling place. If the voter received their ballot, said they mailed it back to us, but the county clerk's office has not received their ballot yet by election day, they can also fill out an affidavit and vote a ballot from the polling place. The affidavit will print with their application, matching whichever scenario they fall into. And then you will process the voter according to instructions on the e-poll book. Polls close at 7 p.m. Your site manager or voter service judge, maybe even the ballot box judge, will audibly announce at 7 o'clock that polls are closed. Any voter still in line at 7 p.m. will be allowed to vote. Closing procedures will begin after the last voter is served. At 7 p.m., we ask that you place an election judge to stand at the end of the line so voters don't continue to get in line. Check-in table closing procedures. Again, you will have your checklist, follow the closing the polls section, and verify that all of these tasks are completed. Check-in judges, along with the ballot box judge, will verify that any ballot bin emergency slots are empty. Ensure that you check these emergency slots on each ballot bin at your polling location. If equipment has gone down during the day or you lost power or certain situations, voters may have been required to put their ballots into the emergency slot. Again, you will remove any ballots that were put into the emergency slot, and along with other election judges, you will cast these ballots in the ballot bin. The ballot box judge will then run a results tape. While the results tape is running, you can open the bins and remove the ballots. You will work as a team, clear a table so you can start separating the ballots by precinct. 2 or more check-in judges will start to separate the ballots using the colored ink initials on the top right of the ballot. And then you will go through each precinct and set aside any ballots with write-in votes. The ballot box judge, once the results tape is finished, they, along with a check-in judge, will sign the results tape. The ballot box judge will initiate printing the results tape. During a primary, it can be quite long, but when printing is complete, check-in judges will sign the bottom of the results tape. Check-in judges will also have a certificate of write-in form for each precinct. These are also located in the black binder. They will list any declared candidate. If there are no candidates listed, there's no need to look for write-in votes, but you will still need to complete the form. Tally only valid write-in votes. Write-in candidates must have filed a declaration in compliance with state law. Votes for non-declared candidates will not be recorded. Voting for more candidates than allowed is considered an overvote and will not be counted as a valid write-in. Here are some examples of a valid write-in. The voter's intent is clear, and you will tally these write-in votes. In the first example, it's a vote for one. The voter wrote in a valid write-in name and darkened the oval next to the candidate's name. That is a valid write-in vote. Example 2, vote for one. The voter wrote a valid write-in candidate's name but did not darken the oval. However, they did not darken the oval for any of the other candidates, so this is considered as showing voter intent and is considered a valid write-in. If the voter's intent is not clear, you do not tally those write-in votes. In the first example here, we have where it's a vote for one. The voter darkened the oval next to a candidate and then wrote a valid write-in candidate's name on the line for write-in. The tabulating equipment has already picked up the vote for one where the voter darkened the oval, so the write-in candidate would not count in this situation. The second example, again, it is a vote for one. However, the voter voted for one of the candidates by darkening the oval next to their name on the left and wrote in a valid write-in candidate with their oval also darkened. This would create an overvote. The ballot counter has already alerted the voter when they created this overvote on their ballot. The voter had an opportunity to spoil their ballot and rectify the situation. However, they chose not to and had the tabulating equipment accept their ballot anyway. So this is an overvote. The intent is not clear which candidate the voter wanted. So this overvote or write-in vote would not count either. On the statement of ballot forms, you can use the area at the top of the form to total votes or tally them. And at the end, write in the total under total votes received for that candidate. All judges will sign the form. Again, if you do not have any valid write-in votes for a declared candidate, you still want to fill out the form. Mark the box at the bottom saying that there were no votes found, and the judges again will sign the form. If the form is not completed, you may get a call from our office asking you to come in and complete the form. So just please complete the form on election night. Completed certificate of write-in forms are then placed back in the black binder to be returned to our office. Ballot count at the end of the night. You're going to return ballots with write-ins to your precinct stack, and then you're going to count all the ballots for each precinct. You will then return the ballots to the ballot issue table. You will give precinct stacks of ballots to the ballot issue judges. Tell the ballot issue judges each precinct total that you got with your ballot count. Confirm that the total matches what is on the results tape for each precinct. And then ensure ballots are packed in correct precinct cases. You will then finish packing up the e-poll books and printers. You will verify that there are no pending voters on the poll book. Properly power down the poll book and printer. You will unplug and replace the power cord in the pocket on the poll book and zip it closed. You will then close and secure the zipper of the poll book with security ties that are delivered in your black rolling case. Ballot issue table, your closing procedures. Again, you would want to follow your checklist for closing the poll section and verify that all tasks have been completed. Free ballot audit. You will move from the ballot file box, your manila spoiled ballot envelope, your statement of ballots, and any ballot packets. You want to separate your ballots now by unopened and opened packets. You're going to tally the number of spoiled ballots and write it on your spoiled ballot manila envelope. Don't seal this envelope yet. You want to make sure that all paperwork and everything is completed before sealing this envelope. You'll take your statement of ballots form. It's an important accounting summary of used and unused ballots from the day. There's one form for each precinct, and it will be completed and signed by all ballot issue judges. Line A, you will total all opened ballot packets. Total quantities of labels on the back of your statement of ballot forms is where you can get this number. These labels are for any packets that have been opened. You will just add up the totals on these labels. You do not have to go back and count all of your open ballot packets to get your total. Just use the totals by adding up the labels or the back of your statement of ballot form. Line B are any unopened ballot packets. Again, you just want to confirm and add up the numbers from the labels on the front of the unopened ballot packets. Line C would be spoiled ballots. You can get the number from the front of that manila envelope. Line D, number of voters. This will be provided to you by the voter service judge. They will get the number from the e-poll book. Again, this is why it's important to make sure that you do that final check-in for each voter as they're being processed. Line E is the number of voted ballots. You should have the total from the check-in table where they counted the ballots and the total that is on the results tape. D and E should match on your statement of ballots form. If not, call our office and we will help to walk you through for certain procedures to check the numbers that you've tallied. Place the completed statement of ballots form in the red binder. Again, make sure that all the judges have signed the form and continue with the rest of your packing procedure. Ballot issue table, you can now close up your accordion files that have the signed applications. Remove the dividers from your ballot file box and repack those in the ballot divider envelope. Both of these items, the accordion file with the signed applications and your ballot divider envelope, go back into the red rolling case. Express vote application envelope, you will get this from the voter service judge. This will contain any applications signed by voters who they helped process that day. Keep the express vote applications in the envelope, and this is also returned with other applications in the red rolling case. Now you're going to pack up the ballots. Precincts with one ballot transfer case. You want to put unvoted ballots on the bottom, voted ballots on the top, and then any write-in ballots on the top of that. You will close the ballot transfer case, secure the box with signed official seals that are signed by the election judges, and you will place a voted ballot sticker on the end of the case. There are barcodes on the ends of the ballot transfer cases. We ask that you do not cover the barcodes, as we need those to process the ballot transfer cases as they are returned to our office. Precincts with two ballot transfer cases. You can pack voted ballots in one case. Again, you would close it the same way. Secure the box with signed official seals and the voted ballot sticker. You can then pack unvoted ballots in the other case. You will still use official seals signed by the election judges, but you do not have to put a voted ballot sticker on these cases. You will give these transfer cases to the ballot box judge, who will then return them to the transfer site. You want to ensure that you only pack ballots in the transfer cases. This is very important. The ballot transfer cases, once they are sealed and returned to our office, we cannot open them without a court order. So it is very important that you only seal ballots in the transfer cases. Repack the supplies as listed. On the outside of your black and red rolling cases, there will be a supply list indicating what needs to be packed and returned in the cases at the end of the night. You will also have supplies listed on the voter service judge, check-in judge, and ballot issue table judge envelopes. Packing of the ballot bin. There's a list printed and placed on the inside door of the ballot bin, which is a list of what needs to be packed and returned in the ballot bin. The ballot box judge will confirm all contents before locking the ballot bin. All judges will remain in the polling location until all other closing procedures are completed, and then you will leave together. So if you finish packing up for your position at the polling location, see if the other judges need help, maybe bringing in outside signage or taking down the polling booths. Items left at the voting site will be our ballot bins, e-poll books, the quad voting booths, regular voting booths, any exterior signs, the express vote terminal and table, orange cones, chrome stands, and you want to make sure that the chrome stands do not get packed up. It is very important that they be left outside the ballot bins and just placed on the floor next to them with the other equipment. They are packed up by the moving company and stored in a separate location. So it is very important that they are left outside of the equipment. The ballot box judge takes the following items to the transfer site at the end of the night: the red rolling case, the black rolling case, voter services provisional ballot case, ballot box judge red bag, ballot transfer cases, and provisional ballot transfer cases. Again, the ballot transfer cases need only contain ballots. Do not seal anything else in the ballot transfer cases. Part 2 is in-person training to go over poll books and how to process voters on the e-poll books. So make sure that you register for the second half of class. Due to social distancing, we have 20 attendees per class. So you do want to make sure that you get a place for the second portion of training. To be certified, you must attend and take the assessment. Any questions, you can refer them to our election judge department at 847-377-2408, or send us an email at electionjudge@lakecountyil.gov. Electionjudge.info is our election judge resource library. We will post class schedules, and the reference library, including manuals, checklists, and the PowerPoint presentations. Thank you.